At my sister's wedding, my parents blocked me at the door and said, "You're not invited." I spotted my sister a few feet away, smirking, but I stayed quiet and walked off. The next day they showed up crying, asking for my help. I just told them, "Go ask one of your invited guests." Standing outside my sister's lavish wedding, navy dress perfectly chosen, gift clutched tight. I never imagined my own parents would be the ones to bar my entry. Their words, cold and clinical, hit me like a physical blow. "You're not on the guest list." The weight of those words knocked the air from my lungs. How could my only sister not want me at her wedding? I should have seen the signs. Audrey and I? Inseparable. Despite the 4-year age gap, she was my other half. We'd spend hours braiding hair. I'd be her fierce protector against bullies, and her secrets were always safe with me. Under blanket forts, flashlights illuminating our matching grins, we'd whisper dreams to each other during thunderstorms. She'd hold the ladder while I climbed trees. I'd help her with dance routines. It was an unspoken sacred promise. We'd stand beside each other on our wedding days. I remember her, all of 12, planning my hypothetical wedding, sprawled on the floor. "When you get married, I want to wear blue." I'd just laugh, toss a pillow at her and promise, "And when you get married, I'll wear whatever hideous bridesmaid dress you choose." Our brick colonial in an affluent Boston suburb wasn't just a house. It was a fortress of appearances. My parents, Elizabeth and William, lived for community standing and traditional success. Dad, a corporate attorney for Boston's old money. Mom, volunteering on prestigious boards, hosting parties that were the talk of the town. They had a clear, rigid script for their daughters. Ivy League, respectable careers, suitable marriages. Audrey, she followed it flawlessly. Boston College, a prominent PR job, the right social clubs, the approved boyfriends. Her Instagram was a preppy catalog of perfection: tennis matches, charity galas, brunches with girlfriends in matching headbands. Me? I zigged where they zagged. Art was my calling, not a hobby. I chose RISD over their preferred Ivy League dreams, then fled to New York. My tiny Brooklyn apartment, paint-splattered floors, mismatched furniture. It was my sanctuary, but to my mother it was a horror show. My unconventional friends, my unpredictable income, my tendency to speak my mind. I was the family disappointment. "When are you getting a real job with benefits, Samantha?" became my father's standard greeting at holidays. "Those tattoos will look terrible when you're older," my mother would sigh, eyeing the watercolor florals on my forearm. "At least Audrey understands responsibility." Audrey would offer sympathetic glances then, but even those grew rarer over time. The miles between New York and Boston were nothing compared to the emotional chasm that swallowed us after college. Our calls dwindled, texts became superficial. Audrey was swept deeper into Boston's elite circles, while I carved out my life in New York's art scene. We'd still connect for holidays, but even then I started hearing it, her voice, echoing our parents' judgment when talking about my life choices. Then, 2 years ago, Audrey met James Hamilton at a charity gala, and our already fragile connection didn't just unravel, it shattered. James was old Boston money, family investment firm, embodying every single thing my parents worshipped. Pedigree, wealth, conformity. 6 months in, I was summoned home for a special family dinner. "James is wonderful," my mother practically sang, setting the table with the wedding china. That night I watched Audrey transform. Her warm, genuine laugh flattened into a practiced giggle. She'd cut me off whenever I dared mention my art or my New York friends. I told a sweet, harmless story about our childhood tree climbing, and she just changed the subject. "Audrey was always the sensible one," my father declared to James, patting her hand. "Samantha has always been our free spirit." The way he said free spirit made it sound like a terminal diagnosis. James regarded me with polite disinterest, his eyes flickering with something akin to disapproval when I mentioned my gallery showing. Then the kicker. "You must visit our place on Nantucket sometime," he told my parents, deliberately excluding me. And Audrey? She just sat there silent. 2 months later, the engagement announcement arrived, via a family email chain. An email chain. I called Audrey immediately, genuinely happy despite my gut feeling about James. "I'm so excited for you," I gushed. "Thanks, Sam," she said, her voice oddly formal. "I'm here to help, just put me to work." I offered. "Oh, that's sweet," she hesitated. "But James's mother already has a planner. And honestly, it might be hard from New York." I ignored the flashing red light. "So when should I be looking at bridesmaid dresses?" The uncomfortable pause told me everything, even before she mumbled vaguely, "We're still figuring out the wedding party. James has a lot of sisters and cousins, so we're trying to balance things." A week later, Instagram delivered the blow. 6 bridesmaids, all beaming in perfectly coordinated cream dresses, champagne flutes, bride tribe sashes. James's 3 sisters, 2 college roommates, our cousin Kayla. The caption, #complete squad complete without me. My simple text, a heart emoji masking a gaping wound. Congrats on finalizing your bridal party. Her reply, thanks. Didn't want to burden you with bridesmaid duties when you're so busy and far away. You understand. I didn't understand. Not a single bit. But I pretended I did. The next few months were a blur of second-hand updates. My mother's smug phone calls. Social media posts I wasn't tagged in. The venue, the designer dress, the elaborate shower. I was always learning about it after the fact. When no formal invitation arrived 6 weeks before the wedding, I finally texted Audrey, "Hey, just checking about your wedding invite. Planning to request time off soon." Her reply, "Of course you're invited. Must have gotten lost in the mail. It's June 15th at Bellevue Country Club, ceremony at 4. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. My sister did want me there. I immediately requested time off, booked an overpriced flight, reserved a hotel. I blew a chunk of my savings on a perfect navy dress, picked out an absurdly expensive crystal vase from their registry. I even booked a hair appointment in Boston, just to meet my mother's impossible standards. This is it, I told my roommate Jenna as I packed. A chance to reconnect. Family is family, right? Jenna looked at me unconvinced. Just be prepared for their usual comments, Sam. Don't let them ruin your weekend. It'll be fine, I insisted, wrapping that crystal vase with almost desperate hope. It's a wedding. Everyone's happy at weddings. That flimsy optimism clung to me through the flight, the rental car, the restless night. It stayed with me as I got ready, carefully applying makeup and styling my hair, until that optimism evaporated the moment I saw their faces. My parents, William and Elizabeth, standing like human barricades at the entrance of Bellevue Country Club. Its manicured hedges and gleaming windows exuded old money. White chairs faced a floral arch on the sweeping lawn. Guests in summer suits mingled champagne flutes, catching the sunlight. It was exactly as I'd imagined Audrey's perfect day, except for my parents blocking my path. "Dad, what do you mean I'm not on the guest list?" I stammered, clutching the invitation details Audrey had texted. "There's no mistake, Samantha. Your name isn't on the approved list," he said coldly, his eyes already darting to curious guests who were beginning to notice our exchange. "But Audrey told me." "Please don't make a scene," my mother hissed, her floral perfume suffocating as she leaned closer. Her perfectly coiffed hair didn't move, just like her practiced expression of discomfort. "People are watching. I don't care who's watching. This is my sister's wedding." My voice rose despite every effort. "I took time off work. I flew here. I bought this dress and gift because Audrey specifically told me to come." My father's jaw tightened, a muscle clenching beneath his cleanly shaved skin. "Audrey specifically requested you not attend." Those were her exact words. It hit me like a physical blow. I actually stumbled backward, my heel wobbling on the brick pathway. "That's not possible. She texted me herself." "Whatever you think," his voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "The reality is you are not welcome here today. This is James and Audrey's perfect day, and they don't need your unpredictability." My unpredictability? Disbelief made my voice crack. "I'm her sister. Elizabeth. William." "There you are," a woman's voice called from behind my parents. James's mother, Patricia Hamilton, glided up, a designer suit that probably cost more than my annual rent. Her calculating eyes swept over me. "Is everything all right here?" "Perfectly fine, Patricia," my mother chirped, a forced brightness. "Samantha was just leaving." "I am not leaving until I speak with Audrey." I stood my ground even as my knees turned to jelly. Patricia's surgically tightened face barely moved as she frowned. "I handled the final guest list personally with Audrey, and I can assure you your name was not on it. Security is very strict here at Bellevue." As if on cue, 2 men in suits appeared nearby, trying to look casual but clearly monitoring. One even touched his earpiece. "You called security on me? Your own daughter." I stared at my parents in disbelief. "We didn't," my mother insisted quickly. "It's standard procedure here for family members." "Is that standard procedure too? Turning away your daughter from her sister's wedding?" The gift box trembled in my hands. Patricia's eyes narrowed. "I should check on the bride. Audrey is so anxious to have everything perfect today." Her emphasis on perfect felt deliberate as she glided away, already speaking into her phone. I fumbled for my own phone, scrolling to Audrey's number. "Voicemail." I texted. "I'm here at the venue but Mom and Dad won't let me in. Please come talk to me." The message showed as delivered, but remained unread. "She's busy getting ready, Samantha," my father said, his voice softening just a sliver, perhaps recognizing the raw pain on my face. "This is her day." "She's my only sister," I said, hating how my voice broke. "I have a right to be here." "Rights," he scoffed. His momentary softness vanished. "What about Audrey's right to a wedding without worrying about what unpredictable thing you might say or do? Without your alternative friends making James's family uncomfortable? I came alone. I'm dressed appropriately. What exactly are you afraid I'll do?" Before they could answer, James's father snorted dismissively nearby, holding a tumbler of amber liquid despite the early hour. "That's the problematic sister," he said, not bothering to lower his voice. "The artist." He made my profession sound like a contagious disease. My phone buzzed. A text. For a moment hope surged that it was Audrey. Instead it was Kayla. "OMG, are you outside? I just heard James' mom telling security not to let you in no matter what." It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate. My stomach clenched. I looked up to see one security guard approaching, while another spoke into his radio. "Ma'am, I'll need you to return to the public parking area," the first guard said with rehearsed politeness. "These are my parents," I said, gesturing wildly. "That's my sister getting married. Nevertheless, we've been informed you're not on the approved guest list." His tone was final. My mother touched my arm lightly. "Samantha, please don't make this harder than it needs to be." A memory flashed. The awkward family dinner 3 weeks ago. Their strange glances. Audrey suddenly obsessed with her salad when I mentioned being excited about her wedding. The conversation had abruptly shifted to James's promotion. It wasn't just typical family awkwardness. It was guilt. "How long have you all known I wasn't invited?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. Their silence screamed the answer. "Miss Wilson, I need you to come with me now." The guard was firmer. Guests were openly staring now. Some whispered behind manicured hands. I recognized faces from childhood neighbors, family friends, relatives. All watching my public humiliation, none intervening. The weight of their judgment, coupled with my family's betrayal, it was unbearable. "Fine," I said, thrusting the wrapped gift at my startled mother. "Give this to Audrey. Tell her. Actually, never mind. She clearly doesn't care what I have to say." I turned and walked away, dignity barely clinging on, security trailing behind. Once in my rental car, safely behind tinted windows, I shattered. Rain started, gentle then fierce, matching my tears. I watched drops race down the windshield as guests hurried into the venue, sheltered by country club umbrellas. Perfect weather for a perfect day. I choked out, hands gripping the steering wheel, engine off. My sister, the one I protected, the one I loved, was getting married 100 yards away. And I wasn't allowed to witness it. Kayla texted again. "This is so messed up. Do you want me to come out there?" "No, stay," I replied. "Someone should see Audrey get married. Take pictures, of course." "But seriously, Sam. Something weird is going on. No one will say why you're not invited. It's like they've created some big secret about you." The rain hammered the roof, each drop an accusation. I leaned my forehead against the cool wheel. How had my family become so unrecognizable? Or maybe I just hadn't seen who they truly were all along. Back in my sterile hotel room, Kayla's text became a lifeline. And a fresh wound. James's mom keeps making these weird comments about family stability whenever anyone asks about you. Your mom told Mrs. Jenkins you couldn't make it because of health reasons, with this super significant look. Found the wedding program. No mention of you anywhere. Not even in the special thanks section where they listed like everyone else. Then a final text, a photo that made my stomach lurch. The wedding party, my parents flanking Audrey in her elaborate white gown, all smiling, perfectly complete, as if I didn't exist. I tossed my phone, curled up still in that navy dress. A memory flashed. Audrey 14, pinky extended. Promise we'll always be there for each other. No matter what? She'd asked after a particularly vicious fight with our parents about her curfew. I'd stood up for her that day, taken our father's anger so she wouldn't have to. Promise, I'd said, linking fingers. Sisters before misters. Family above all. What happened to that sister? How could she exclude me, her only sister, from her most important day without even a direct conversation? Then the hotel phone shrilled. My mother's oldest friend, Amanda Lewis, who had known me since childhood. "Samantha, I just heard what happened. I can't believe Elizabeth and William would do this." "Believe it," I said flatly. Apparently, I didn't make the cut for my only sister's wedding. Amanda sighed, a sound that carried decades of familiarity with my family's dynamics. There's something you should know. I wouldn't normally repeat gossip, but under the circumstances, James's family, they've been telling people you have substance abuse issues, that you're unstable. Elizabeth. She didn't correct them when I heard it at the rehearsal dinner. Just gave that martyred look and talked about supporting you through your challenges. The room tilted. That's insane. I've never had substance problems. I barely drink. I know that, honey. Anyone who actually knows you knows that. But the Hamiltons are influential. And Audrey, she's determined to fit into their world, even if it means erasing her sister. My voice cracked. James convinced Audrey you might cause a scene or embarrass her. He mentioned something about your bohemian lifestyle being incompatible with their social circle. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. My bohemian lifestyle? Working 60-hour weeks between my art and my gallery job? Living with a roommate because New York rent is impossible? Ordering Thai food when I'm too exhausted to cook? Real wild stuff. Amanda confirmed my deepest fear. For what it's worth, I don't think Audrey came up with this exclusion on her own. That boy has been isolating her from anyone who doesn't fit his image of the perfect society wife. After thanking Amanda for her honesty, I reluctantly opened Instagram. Wedding photos already appearing. Professionally shot, perfectly staged. Audrey radiant. One caption read, surrounded by our entire loving family as we begin our journey together. Hashtag Hamilton ever. The words burned. I switched to Facebook and found more guest photos, including one where my absence was conspicuously unmentioned in the comments. Beautiful family portrait. The Wilsons and Hamiltons unite. What a perfect match. Audrey looks just like Elizabeth did at her wedding. Not one "Where's Sam?" Not one person questioning the missing sister. With shaking hands, I opened my laptop and checked my email archives, searching for any wedding-related communications. What I found only deepened the betrayal. A message from my mother 11 months ago, mentioning Audrey and James thinking about a June wedding. Another from my father 8 months ago, referencing wedding planning in full swing. The timeline was clear. While Audrey was texting me about possibly being too busy with work to visit New York, she was actively planning her wedding. While my parents were vaguely referencing family events next summer, they were finalizing details for a celebration I wouldn't be part of. The most damning evidence came from Audrey herself. A casual email from 4 months ago. So busy with life. What's new with you? I'd responded with details about my art show and asked about wedding plans. Her reply. Nothing finalized yet. We'll keep you posted when we know more. She'd been lying. They'd all been lying. Creating an elaborate months-long fiction to keep me believing I was included, while systematically ensuring I wasn't. Kayla's final text delivered the death blow. Asterisk reception starting. I feel awful being here when you can't be. What they did is so wrong. I just asked the wedding planner, pretending I was confused about seating. She checked her records and said, your name never appeared on any version of the list from day one. I'm so sorry, Sam. Asterisk the confirmation hit me like a physical punch. I curled around a pillow, body shaking with silent sobs. It wasn't just exclusion. It was erasure. My parents, who should have advocated for me, had instead helped construct the lie. My sister, who had once promised to always stand by me, had decided I wasn't worthy of witnessing her most important day. I'd lost more than an invitation. I'd lost my entire concept of family. Every childhood memory, every family photo on my apartment wall. It all felt like a fiction. If they could exclude me so completely from this milestone, had I ever truly belonged? In that sterile hotel room surrounded by the debris of preparations for an event I wasn't allowed to attend, I hit rock bottom. The family I thought I had didn't exist. The sister I knew was a stranger. The parents who should have loved me unconditionally had instead placed conditions I could never satisfy. I was completely, utterly alone. Morning broke, leaving me with swollen eyes and a hollow ache in my chest that made breathing difficult. The wedding was over. Audrey was officially Mrs. Hamilton, probably at some exclusive breakfast, or already on James's family yacht for a honeymoon. My parents had successfully maintained their perfect family image, minus one inconvenient daughter, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered understanding of family. I avoided the mirror. I knew what my reflection would confirm. I was destroyed. I shuffled to the lobby, checking out a day early. The elevator doors opened, and I nearly walked right into Mrs. Henderson, my old high school art teacher. Samantha Wilson, she exclaimed, her voice warm. Then she saw me. Oh dear, are you all right? I tried to smile, but it felt more like a grimace. Just checking out, heading back to New York. Her eyes narrowed with concern. I thought your sister's wedding was yesterday? Aren't there usually brunches and things the day after? That simple, innocent question cracked me open. Before I could stop myself, the entire humiliating story came tumbling out in the hotel lobby. Being turned away. Discovering the deliberate exclusion. Uncovering the lies that had spanned months. Mrs. Henderson led me to a quiet corner, listening without a single interruption. When I finally ran out of words, she placed a weathered hand over mine. What they did was cruel, Samantha. Unforgivably cruel. But it says everything about them, and nothing about your worth. Then why does it feel like I'm the one who did something wrong? I whispered. Because that's what families like yours do. They make the truth-tellers feel like the problem. She squeezed my hand. I've taught in this town for 35 years. I've watched families like yours operate. They're so obsessed with appearances, they'll sacrifice authentic relationships just to maintain the facade. But Audrey and we were close once. We really were. Mrs. Henderson nodded. I remember you two were inseparable in school. But sometimes people choose the path of least resistance. Standing up to family pressure, especially with money and status involved, takes tremendous courage. Her words were the first, the only thing that had made sense since this nightmare began. We talked for almost an hour, her gentle wisdom providing the first glimmer of clarity I'd experienced since being turned away at the venue entrance. What will you do now? She asked. Go home to New York, I guess. Try to move forward somehow. She hugged me tight. Your talent and your honesty will serve you well, Samantha. Those are far more valuable than social standing or family connections. Never forget that. Strengthened by Mrs. Henderson's unexpected kindness, I decided on one last stop, my parents' house. I hoped to slip in and out, avoiding another confrontation while they were at some post-wedding festivities. The house looked exactly as it always had, perfectly maintained colonial, precision-trimmed hedges, seasonal flowers. A monument to control. I used my old key, half expecting the locks to have changed along with my family status. My childhood bedroom, though? Unrecognizable. My chosen blue walls repainted a neutral beige. Most of my posters and photos gone. Boxes labeled storage occupied the floor space. And the twin bed was covered with plastic bins of Christmas decorations. I'd been literally erased from the physical space I once occupied. Opening my closet, I found my remaining belongings consolidated into 2 cardboard boxes, labeled Sam in my mother's precise handwriting. Yearbooks, childhood art projects, photo albums efficiently packed away, as if in preparation for my complete removal from family memory. And then I saw them. Discarded awards from art competitions they'd never attended. Journals filled with my teenage thoughts. A handmade quilt from my grandmother, who had always encouraged my creativity before her death. The casual disposal of these treasures felt like yet another deliberate wound. I was carefully wrapping a small sculpture I'd made in high school when my phone rang. Taylor. My best friend since college. Finally. I've been worried sick since your text last night. What the actual hell, Sam? They didn't let you into your own sister's wedding. Hearing Taylor's fierce indignation, something broke inside me. I sank to the floor, right there in my former bedroom, and told her everything. From the moment of rejection at the venue to discovering my room transformed into storage space. That's not a family, Sam, that's a cult, Taylor declared. Seriously, who does that to their own daughter? Their own sister? Apparently mine, I choked out. Well, F***ck them. No, seriously, F***ck all of them. You deserve so much better than people who would treat you this way. Taylor's anger on my behalf was a warm blanket against my cold shock. You still have family, Sam. It's just not the one you were born into. It's the one you've created. Me, Jenna, Miguel, all of us who love you exactly as you are. Her words echoed something from therapy sessions I briefly attended after college. Asterisk family isn't always blood. It's the people in your life who want you in theirs. Asterisk, I don't know how to process this, I admitted, staring at those bland beige walls. By coming home, she said. Your real home, with people who actually appreciate your magnificent, creative, honest self will help you through this. When we hung up, I sat amidst the remnants of my childhood, finally seeing Taylor's truth. While I'd been desperately seeking approval from people incapable of giving it, I'd built a supportive community in New York that valued everything my biological family rejected. I packed only what truly mattered. A few childhood photos, my grandmother's handwritten recipes, and a small sketchbook Audrey had given me for my 16th birthday, inscribed, asterisk to my amazing sister. Never stop creating. Asterisk the rest? I left it behind. A deliberate unburdening. I had just finished loading the last box into the rental car when another vehicle pulled into the driveway. My parents' Mercedes, returning far earlier than I expected. For a split second I considered bolting. But no. Something in me had shifted. I deserved answers. I stood my ground as they emerged from their car, their faces registering surprise and then immediate discomfort. They were still in their wedding finery from what I assumed was the post-wedding brunch. "Samantha," my mother said, her voice unnaturally high. "We didn't expect you to still be in town." Before I could reply, another car pulled up. A sleek black Audi that I recognized as James's. To my shock, Audrey emerged from the passenger side, still in a cream-colored dress from some post-wedding event. Our eyes locked across the driveway and she froze, one hand clutching her new husband's arm. "What is she doing here?" James demanded of my father, not bothering to address me directly. Something about his tone, the entitled dismissal, as if I were a service worker who had failed to perform adequately, ignited a calm, cold anger within me. "I'm collecting my belongings," I said evenly, my gaze fixed on Audrey, whose eyes immediately dropped. "Didn't expect to see the newlyweds. Shouldn't you be boarding a private jet to some exclusive island by now?" "They're staying at the Hamilton estate on Nantucket tomorrow," my mother interjected nervously. "They just came to collect a few things before heading to the hotel for the night." An awkward silence descended as we all stood in the driveway, the absurdity of the situation almost laughable. 24 hours earlier, they had barred me from my sister's wedding. Now we were making small talk about travel plans. "Well, congratulations on your marriage, Audrey," I said, maintaining that steady tone. "I would have told you in person yesterday, but apparently, I didn't make the cut for your intimate ceremony of 300 guests." Audrey finally looked up, her expression a mixture of guilt and defensiveness. "Sam, it wasn't personal. We just wanted to avoid any potential complications." "Complications?" I repeated. "Is that what I am to you now? A complication?" James stepped forward, his arm protectively around my sister. "Audrey doesn't need this right now. She's exhausted from the wedding." "The wedding I wasn't welcome to attend, despite being the bride's only sister," I shot back. I turned back to Audrey. "After everything we've been through together, you owe me an explanation. At least have the courage to tell me why." "Perhaps we should all go inside," my father suggested, glancing uncomfortably at the neighboring houses where curtains had begun to twitch with curiosity. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not stepping foot back in that house. Say what you need to say right here." My mother made a distressed sound. "Samantha, always so dramatic. This is exactly why." "Why, Mom?" I cut her off. "Why you excluded me from my sister's wedding. Why you lied to me for months. Why you let James's family spread rumors about me having substance abuse issues." My parents exchanged alarmed glances. Audrey's head snapped up. "What rumors?" "Oh, you didn't know?" I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. "Your in-laws have been telling people I'm an unstable addict. Apparently, that's the narrative they created to explain my absence. And our parents? They didn't correct them. We didn't know exactly what was being said," my father interjected quickly. "Liar," I said quietly, looking him straight in the eye. "Amanda Lewis told me she heard it at the rehearsal dinner. And you were right there, nodding sympathetically about my challenges. The only challenge I have is being born into a family that values appearances over honesty, and social standing over loyalty." James's face had hardened. "Your lifestyle choices reflect on Audrey now. As her husband, I have to protect her reputation. The Hamiltons have standards to maintain." "My lifestyle choices?" I scoffed. "You mean being an artist? Living in New York? Having friends who don't summer on Nantucket? Among other things," he muttered. I turned to Audrey, whose eyes had filled with tears. "Is that really why, Audrey? Because I don't fit the Hamilton mold? Because James decided I might embarrass you?" "It's not that simple," she whispered. "Actually, it is that simple," I countered. "You had a choice. Stand up for your sister, or please your husband's family. You chose them. You don't understand the pressure I've been under." Audrey suddenly burst out. "Everything had to be perfect. The Hamiltons have expectations, traditions. They're connected to everyone who matters in Boston, and I don't matter after everything we've been through together." "That's not what I meant." She wiped at her tears, careful not to smudge her makeup. "But you've always done whatever you wanted, Sam. You left for New York and never looked back. You didn't care what anyone thought about your choices. Do you have any idea how hard it's been living in your shadow?" "My shadow?" I stared at her in disbelief. "I've been the family disappointment since I chose art school over Harvard. How could you possibly be in my shadow?" Because you were brave enough to leave, she cried. To build your own life. I've spent my entire life doing what everyone expected, being who everyone wanted me to be. And you just walked away from all of it like it was nothing. The revelation stunned me into momentary silence. My perfect, compliant sister had been envious of my independence. So, excluding me from your wedding was what? I asked, my voice flat. Punishment for living my own life? It was easier, okay? Audrey's voice cracked. It was easier to exclude you than fight for you. James's parents made it clear they didn't approve of you. Mom and Dad agreed it would be simpler if you weren't there. Everyone just wanted things to go smoothly. And lying to me for months? I pressed. Leading me to believe I was invited? Letting me buy a plane ticket, book a hotel, buy a dress and a gift? Was that easier too? She had no answer. Her gaze dropped once more to her designer shoes. My father stepped forward, his authoritative courtroom voice taking over. What's done is done, Samantha. Creating a scene now won't change anything. It would be best if you just returned to New York and gave everyone some space. Space? I echoed. I've given you nothing but space. I moved hundreds of miles away. I built my own life because there wasn't room for the real me in yours. And still, that wasn't enough distance for you. My mother attempted to take my arm. Darling, you're upset. We understand. No, you don't understand. I interrupted, gently removing her hand. You've never tried to understand me. But I finally understand you. All of you. I looked at each family member in turn. You're so terrified of authenticity that you would rather lose a daughter and a sister than risk a moment of social discomfort. James scoffed. Always the dramatic artist. Better a dramatic artist, I replied calmly, than a spineless conformist. I turned back to Audrey. I hope your marriage brings you happiness. I truly do. But know this. The same people you're trying so desperately to please would discard you in a heartbeat if you ever stopped fitting their mold. Just like they did to me. That's enough, my father said sharply. You're right. It is. I picked up the last box from the ground and placed it in my car. I didn't come here to cause the scene Audrey was so afraid I'd create at her wedding. I came for my belongings and some closure. I have both now. As I opened my car door, Audrey took a step toward me. Sam, wait. Maybe we can talk later after things settle down. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. And I saw not the confident, radiant bride from the wedding photos, but a scared woman who had traded her authenticity for acceptance. I won't be waiting by the phone, I told her quietly. If someday you want a relationship with the real me, not some sanitized version that makes your in-laws comfortable, you know where to find me. But I won't be diminishing myself anymore to accommodate people who see me as an embarrassment. The release of speaking these truths felt physical, as if I'd set down a heavy burden I'd been carrying for years. I got into my car without another word, leaving my stunned family standing in the driveway of the house where I'd grown up, but never truly belonged. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. My parents had already turned toward the house, but Audrey remained, watching my departure. For a brief moment I thought she might call out, "Run after me." Some dramatic reconciliation scene. She didn't. She simply stood there, James's hand firmly on her elbow, as I turned the corner and disappeared from view. I hadn't caused the scene they feared. I hadn't broken down or begged for inclusion. Instead I had found my voice, set my boundaries with dignity. For perhaps the first time in my life, I had stood my ground not through rebellion or defiance, but through a quiet, fierce declaration of my own worth. The road ahead was empty, open, a blank canvas of possibility. The coastal highway, a deliberate choice over a quick flight, offered a different perspective. I stopped frequently, at quiet beaches collecting smooth stones, at small art galleries in charming Connecticut shore towns, at roadside diners where I ate alone but didn't feel lonely. Each mile created necessary distance between the person my family wanted me to be and the person I actually was. Each sunset over the water reinforced that endings could be beautiful, even when painful. Each morning brought clarity that had been obscured by years of chasing approval from those incapable of giving it. I called Taylor from a small beach in Rhode Island, sitting on a weathered bench facing the Atlantic. "How are you holding up?" she asked, genuine concern in her voice. "Surprisingly okay," I answered, realizing it was true. Something shifted when I finally confronted them. It's like I've been carrying this hope that someday they'd really see me. Letting go of that hope hurts, but it's also incredibly freeing. That's some healthy perspective for someone who was just erased from her sister's wedding. She laughed. I laughed too. Don't worry. I'm still planning on processing this in therapy for the next decade. As you should, she said. But seriously, Sam, I'm proud of you. Standing up to family is the hardest thing. Throughout the drive, I'd stop to sketch in the small notebook I always carried. Not polished art, just raw impressions. The country club entrance where I was turned away, my childhood bedroom turned storage, the final confrontation in the driveway. With each sketch I reclaimed these painful experiences, integrating them into my story, rather than letting them define me. When I finally arrived in New York, the familiar chaos of the city wrapped around me like a comforting hug. The constant motion, the unapologetic diversity, the celebration of individuality. Everything my hometown rejected was precisely what made this place home. My roommate Jenna was waiting with open arms and an open bottle of wine. Unlike my biological family, she asked questions, then actually listened to the answers, her expression shifting appropriately from outrage to sympathy as I recounted the wedding debacle. "Those people are actual monsters," she declared, refilling my glass. "Who does that to their own daughter, their own sister? People who value what others think more than what's right," I said, surprised by my own insight. "Well, their loss is our gain. We get the real Sam Wilson, not whatever Stepford version they wanted you to be." The next morning I woke to the sound of hushed voices and clinking dishes. Opening my bedroom door, I found our tiny apartment packed with friends. Taylor had driven in from Philadelphia. Miguel had brought breakfast from the Dominican bakery I loved, and several others from my art circle were arranging coffee cups and pastries. "Surprise!" Jenna announced. "We figured you needed a proper welcome home." This simple gesture, friends gathering on a Sunday morning just to show support, affected me more deeply than I could express. This was what family should feel like. Acceptance without conditions, support without agenda, love without performance requirements. As we crowded around our tiny kitchen table, conversations flowing naturally between serious discussions of my experience and ridiculous jokes about revenge fantasies, I felt the first genuine happiness since before the wedding disaster. "I've been thinking," Miguel said, sliding a business card across the table. "You should talk to my gallery friend, Eliza. She's putting together a show about identity and belonging that would be perfect for your work." I examined the card. Eliza Graham ran a respected gallery in Chelsea, known for showcasing emerging artists exploring societal themes. "You think my work would fit?" I asked. "Are you kidding? Your Fractured Reflection series is exactly what she's looking for. Personal yet universal. This whole experience, as terrible as it's been, could fuel some incredible new work." The suggestion sparked something deep inside me. Throughout my artistic career, I'd often censor myself, creating work that was technically proficient but emotionally safe. What if I channeled this pain into something authentic, something powerful? The very next morning I called Dr. Martinez, a therapist a friend had recommended months ago, whose number I'd saved but never dialed. To my surprise, she had a cancellation that afternoon. "What brings you in today?" she asked, once I was settled in her comfortably worn office chair. "My family excluded me from my sister's wedding, and has basically been lying to me my entire adult life," I said, the bluntness surprising even me. "I need to figure out how to process that without letting it destroy me." Dr. Martinez didn't seem shocked by my direct approach. "That's a significant betrayal. How are you taking care of yourself right now?" That simple question, "How was I caring for myself, not how could I fix my family," signaled I'd found the right therapist. Over the following weeks, our sessions became a crucial space for unpacking, not just the wedding incident, but a lifetime of conditional acceptance that had preceded it. "You've spent years trying to earn love that should have been freely given," she observed in one particularly intense session. "What would it look like to stop trying to earn it?" That question catalyzed a period of profound change. I started establishing boundaries with my parents' attempts to contact me, responding to messages only when I felt emotionally equipped, ignoring them when I didn't. I blocked James on all platforms and limited what Audrey could see of my social media life. I started a dedicated sketchbook for family session drawings, creating immediate after each therapy appointment. Professionally, I took Miguel's advice and contacted Eliza Graham, sharing both my portfolio and, after some hesitation, the deeply personal story behind my newest work. To my amazement, she immediately saw the potential. "There's something raw and truthful happening in these new pieces," she said, examining sketches from my road trip that I'd already begun developing into larger works. The Family Silhouette series, especially the negative space where figures should be, is incredibly powerful. 2 months after the wedding, Eliza offered me a spot in her upcoming exhibition, Belonging, Identity in a Fractured World. The validation from someone who had no obligation to appreciate my work meant more than any family approval ever had. As summer transitioned to fall, I established new traditions with my chosen family. Sunday brunches with Jenna and our friend circle. Tuesday night life drawing sessions followed by cheap wine at the dive bar around the corner. Monthly gallery crawls with Miguel and his boyfriend. These rituals anchored me as I navigated life without the family connections I'd once thought essential. I changed my appearance in small but significant ways. Cutting my hair into a style I'd always wanted but my mother had always criticized. Getting a small compass tattoo on my wrist, a constant reminder to follow my own direction. Each change was a reclamation of self-determination, a quiet declaration that I no longer sought external approval. The most surprising development came in October, when I met Michael at a gallery opening for a mutual friend. Unlike James, who had evaluated me against some predetermined checklist of acceptability, Michael was genuinely curious about my authentic self. "Tell me more about your creative process," he said on our first date, leaning forward with genuine interest after I'd mentioned my upcoming exhibition. "What drives you to create?" The question was so refreshingly direct, so focused on understanding rather than judging, that I found myself opening up about how art had become my language for processing the world, including recent family trauma. "That's incredibly brave," he responded, using pain as creative fuel instead of letting it consume you. His perception of my art, and by extension me, as brave rather than problematic sparked a connection that developed naturally over the following months. For the first time, I was building a relationship without editing myself to be more acceptable. By the time my exhibition opened in November, I had constructed a life that felt authentically mine. Professional momentum, unwavering supportive friendships, a promising new relationship, and the therapeutic tools for managing the lingering pain of family rejection. I wasn't healed in any simplistic sense, but I was building something profoundly meaningful from the wreckage of old expectations. The night before the gallery opening, I sat in my newly rearranged bedroom, staring at the last family photo I kept displayed. Audrey and me as children, arms around each other on a beach in Cape Cod, genuine smiles directed at each other rather than the camera. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to remove this evidence that we had once truly loved each other, before expectations and social pressures had driven us apart. "I hope you find your way back to yourself someday," I whispered to her image, before turning out the light and preparing for my own moment of professional recognition. One my biological family wouldn't witness, but my chosen family would celebrate with genuine pride. 6 months after being turned away from my sister's wedding, I stood in Eliza Graham's gallery, surrounded by my work and my chosen family. Family silhouettes, presence and absence had received unexpected critical attention, with an arts writer from The New Yorker calling it a powerful exploration of belonging and exclusion rendered with technical skill and emotional authenticity. The success felt validating, but it was secondary to the personal growth the work represented. Each piece contained some element of my family story. Negative spaces where figures should stand, fragmented portraits with missing pieces, translucent layers suggesting memories being rewritten. Creating them had been painful, yes, but also purifying, transforming private anguish into public connection, as visitors shared their own experiences of family complexity. "I can't believe that's my girlfriend on the gallery wall," Michael said, appearing beside me with 2 champagne flutes. In the 4 months we'd been dating, he'd shown nothing but genuine interest in understanding my authentic self, rather than trying to reshape me into some predetermined ideal. "Sometimes I can't believe it either," I admitted, accepting the champagne. A year ago, I was still seeking approval from people who were never going to give it. Taylor joined us, linking her arm through mine. "To Sam finding her voice and sharing it with the world," she toasted, raising her glass. "And to our horrible family for providing such excellent artistic material." We laughed. A truly humorous laugh, a sign of healing. The pain hadn't disappeared, but it had transformed into something I could carry without being crushed by its weight. That evening, after the successful opening, I returned to my apartment to find an unexpected envelope in my mail. The Boston postmark in my sister's handwriting sent an immediate pulse of anxiety through me. Inside was a card with a simple message. "Sam, I saw an article about your gallery show online. The work looks incredible. I always knew you were talented, even when I didn't have the courage to say so. Things with James aren't what I expected. His family's expectations are suffocating, and I'm starting to understand what you meant in our last conversation. I miss my sister. If you're ever open to talking, I'd like to try to rebuild some kind of relationship on your terms, not mine or anyone else's. Love, Audrey." I sat with that card for a long time, emotions swirling. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as too little, too late. But another part recognized the immense courage it must have taken for Audrey to reach out, especially if her marriage was truly struggling under the weight of the same expectations that had suffocated me. After careful consideration, I composed a measured response. "Audrey, Thank you for your note, and for acknowledging my work. That means more than you might realize. I'm not ready for family holidays, or pretending nothing happened. The wedding exclusion wasn't just hurtful. It was the culmination of a lifetime of conditional acceptance that I'm still processing. If you want to begin a conversation about building a new kind of relationship, based on mutual respect and honesty, I'm cautiously open to that. But it would need to be just between us, without our parents' influence or James's family's expectations shaping the interaction. Take care of yourself. Sam. I mailed the letter the next day, setting clear boundaries while leaving open the possibility of reconciliation. Whether Audrey could meet me in that honest space remained to be seen, but my response came from strength, rather than desperation for family connection. In the months that followed, I continued therapy with Dr. Martinez, gradually developing a more nuanced understanding of my parents' limitations. Their obsession with social standing and conformity hadn't started with me. They themselves were products of rigid upbringings, where approval was always conditional and appearances were paramount. Understanding the origins of their behavior doesn't excuse it, Dr. Martinez emphasized during one session, but it might help you release some of the pain. I think I'm realizing they did the best they could with the emotional tools they had, I replied. The problem was, their best wasn't enough for a child who needed unconditional acceptance. And that's not your failure. It's theirs. This perspective shift allowed me to view my parents with more compassion, without accepting their treatment as deserved. They were flawed humans who simply lacked the capacity to provide what I needed, not malicious villains intent on causing pain. This understanding didn't erase the hurt, but it helped me carry it differently. My relationship with Michael deepened as winter turned to spring. Unlike previous relationships where I'd carefully edited myself to seem more acceptable, with Michael I could be authentically imperfect. When he first joined me for dinner with my artist friends, he fit seamlessly into the chosen family I'd built, appreciating their quirks and their unique contributions to my life. I love how you've created your own traditions, he commented after a particularly chaotic, but joy-filled Sunday brunch at our apartment. Everyone brings something unique to the table, literally and figuratively. I needed to reconstruct what family means to me, I explained. These people love me without conditions or expectations. They celebrate my successes without competition, and support me through failures without judgment. That's what real family should be, he said simply. As my professional success continued to grow, with a second exhibition planned and a teaching opportunity at a community arts program, I established clear boundaries around sharing these achievements. My parents occasionally sent formal emails inquiring about my career progress, which I answered factually, but without seeking approval. Audrey and I continued our cautious text exchange, primarily focused on her growing recognition of the very family dynamics that had shaped us both. James's mother criticized my choice of charity work yesterday. She wrote in one particularly revealing message. It made me think of all the times I watched Mom and Dad criticize your art. I never stood up for you. I'm sorry for that. That acknowledgement, while healing, also highlighted how different our paths had been. Audrey was just beginning to question the values ingrained in us, while I had spent years building an identity independent of family approval. The gap between us couldn't be bridged by apologies alone, but her growing awareness suggested a foundation for a different kind of relationship might someday be possible. During the winter holidays, I declined my parents' perfunctory invitation to Boston. Instead, I hosted a chosen family Christmas in my apartment. Friends brought dishes representing their own family traditions, or invented entirely new ones. We exchanged thoughtful, inexpensive gifts that demonstrated attention to each other's authentic selves, rather than social obligations. The contrast between this warm, accepting celebration and the tense performance-based holidays of my childhood couldn't have been starker. As I looked around at the mismatched furniture holding friends from diverse backgrounds, all laughing and belonging exactly as they were, I recognized the profound wisdom I'd gained through the painful journey of the past year. Rejection had, in fact, been redirection. Being excluded from my sister's wedding had forced me to confront the conditional nature of my family's love, and build connections based on authentic acceptance, rather than performance. The pain of family rejection? It would likely never disappear completely. Certain milestones would always carry a sting of absence, future weddings, births, graduations where family connections would be assumed, but not present in the traditional sense. Yet, I had discovered something profound. Family could be created, not just inherited. Chosen, not assigned. Built on authentic connection, not genetic obligation. What are you thinking about? Michael asked, finding me alone in the kitchen during a quiet moment in the celebration. You look so serious suddenly. Just reflecting, I replied. on how sometimes the most painful experiences lead us exactly where we need to go. A year ago, I thought being excluded from Audrey's wedding was the absolute worst thing that could happen to me. Now, I see it was the push I needed to build a life based on authentic connection, rather than performance. He nodded thoughtfully. The universe has strange ways of redirecting us sometimes. I'm learning that rejection is often protection, I said. It hurts when people can't accept you as you are. But their rejection? It protects you from a lifetime of trying to be someone you're not. As we rejoined our gathering, I carried this hard-won wisdom. True belonging never requires you to betray yourself. Family, whether biological or chosen, should expand, not diminish, your sense of self. Love that comes with conditions isn't really love at all. It's approval, an entirely different currency. The wedding exclusion that had once devastated me had ultimately freed me to create a life of genuine connection. The sister who had once been my closest ally might someday become a friend on new, more authentic terms. And the parents who couldn't see my value? They had inadvertently pushed me toward people who could. In the end, being kept from my sister's wedding had given me an unexpected gift. The courage to stop seeking acceptance where it wouldn't be freely given, and to build a life where I didn't need to earn belonging through performance or pretense. I had learned what so many before me have discovered through pain. Sometimes being excluded from where you thought you belonged leads you exactly where you need to be.